Well, good afternoon. Today we are going to introduce the course titled Principles of Epidemiology and Public Health. Here are the main outline of the course, what we are going to discuss, or what we are going to be discussing in this very important course. The first of all is definition of epidemiology. That is, how do we define epidemiology? What are the terms that are necessary to be present, to be there, so that we can assure that the epidemiology is defined. What is epidemiology? What is all about epidemiology? What does epidemiologists do? If you want to understand epidemiology, you have to understand what does epidemiologists do. What did you do? Then you understand epidemiology. Nature of epidemiological studies, nature of epidemiological investigation, kinds of epidemiology. Then we have to talk on historical aspect of epidemiology, like the origin of epidemiology. How does epidemiology started? So everything has its origin, but when you dig back and back, you find out the origin will be very much longer. So we have to take some of the those epidemiologists that contributed, those scientists that contributed much to the knowledge of epidemiology. Then epidemiology was now bundled off to become a field on its own. Then we have to do a few introduction to public health. Public health. What are the habits we do to contribute to public health? Like your own attitude, issues to do with hygiene, issues to do with sanitation, and issues to do with environment. Then we now enter determinants of disease. Determinant, what are the factors necessary to be there that will determine the presence of disease. Then we now look at the pattern of disease in a population. Disease is a multiple causation. It's caused by multiple factors. So we have to, and that multiple factor will give it distribution, an even distribution or even distribution, depending on the nature of the disease and also nature of the factors that are affecting the disease. Then we also look at the pattern of disease in population, in time and space, nature of disease, in multiple causation of the disease, then also in time and space. Then we now talk of the mode of transmission. How does the disease is being transmitted from vertical to horizontal? The first of all is vertically, from parent to offspring. Then the second one is transmission either from the reservoir to the susceptible individual, and from one susceptible individual to another individual who is also susceptible to the disease, and so on like that. So then also we'll now look at herd immunity. Herd immunity, that is immunity of the population. How does the population, a particular population of a village or a city, acquired an immunity to a disease, so that disease will not enter that population with ease. So population has to acquire an immunity. It's different from an immunity of a single individual, but immunity now we are talking immunity of a whole population, herd immunity. Then also we'll be discussing of the design and analysis of observational studies. There are some certain observational studies which are most of the diseases in biological sciences, in agri and some other natural sciences fields. You find that it's based on observation. You observe and you record. So now there are many observational studies in epidemiological studies. Most of it is observation. You go to the area, you observe, you go through whatever it is, and you observe and you report. So these observational studies, we are going to also discuss on them. Then there is what we call questionnaire development and administration. How do you develop a questionnaire and how do you administer it? You prepare, do some preliminary preparation and develop your questionnaire, and then also you now administer it to retrieve information, valuable information that are necessary for you to to get the required information on epidemic disease. Now, there is what we refer to as a introduction to statistics. Definitely, when you are going to conduct an epidemiological studies, there must be statistical analysis. You begin with the count, you talk of proportion, you talk of ratio, you talk of rate at which the disease occurs, prevalence and incidence of the disease. All it requires some of the statistical application. We have to define scale of measurement because you have to measure variable, count, rate, ratio, proportion, prevalence, and incidence. Then we also deal with the screening for diseases. You have to screen for disease. When you are talking of screening, we are not referring to diagnosis. Diagnosis is maybe we are talking for a single individual, which diagnosis will require some time, while screening it does require much time. Because when you want to screen a population, for example, now you want to screen a population that will enter this university, and you have to do it very fast and very short time. So it's like you want to now find a way of screening those with the disease and those without the disease. So for example, maybe during coronavirus, you find out people are screened based on the temperature of the body or the color of the eyes, redness of the eyes, which is it's not a true test always, but it's an inference of that you may likely develop or may have the disease. So it's a screening test. It's not necessary that it's telling you that somebody has test, but it's just a screening test. And then we talk of immunization, vaccination. Then we talk of the pharmacovigilance in the vaccination. That when you are doing vaccination or immunization, then you have to have a team that will do what we call pharmacovigilance. That means they should be very much aware of what is happening before the injection, before the vaccination, and after the vaccination, so that you can now report and take measures. Then we also have to do the investigation of disease outbreak. How do you investigate a disease when there is a disease outbreak? How do we form a team to investigate disease outbreak? So this, in a short note, is a curriculum, is outline of the course, principle of epidemiology and public health. Thank you. We meet once again in the second lecture. Thank you.